Welcome back to Stamping at the Warren, and I'm Kim Tolton. And first of all, I just want to give a quick explanation why I have been AWOL for a while. You'll probably hear that my voice doesn't sound quite right. I've actually been really poorly. I've had 2 doses of really bad flu with pneumonia and pleurisy, and it's taken me quite a long time to actually get back to some semblance of normal. I never expected something like the flu to knock me back quite as much as it has, but there you go. And on top of all of that, my poor parents have been very poorly as well, with going into hospital and all sorts of things. And I just had to make a decision that rather than coughing and spluttering and sneezing and sniffing and feeling pretty miserable in myself, and I think my last video probably reflected that. When I look back at it, I was quite flat, if that makes any sense. I didn't have my usual oomph and enthusiasm for what I do. And it's really only been this last couple of days where I've actually felt that come back, and it's completely unknown for me to not spend time in my craft room. So I'm so pleased that I am back. And thankfully it was really having to get my swaps ready for Telford this week. Which is a great annual event with Stampin' Up, and it gives us all our demonstrators a chance to come together and network and have some fun, and it's just a hoot. And there will be a video after the event sharing all of the goodies and greatness that goes with going to the event. So anyway, today what I have for you is a watercolour technique. And I'm using a couple of stamp sets. So I'm really sorry if I don't sound like myself. I don't feel I sound like myself, so I do apologise. My poor larynx has taken a battering. So we're using the Helping Me Grow stamp set here. This beautiful big floral daisy-like flower. So we're using that, and we'll also be using the little dots there. And then from the Petite Pears stamp set, I'm using a birthday greeting. And there's a couple of punches in there. But the main thing is this watercolour technique. Before I start, I'm going to go through what you're going to need. Now, I've done a side... No, I haven't. It's a regular A6. I thought I'd done a side fold. So this is mint macaron cardstock. So all the colours I'm working with today, apart from basic black, are from the carrying over in colours. So this is mint macaron. This was trimmed to 21 centimetres by 14.8 centimetres. So that's a standard A6 card. Scored through the long side at the middle at 10.5. You fold so that that unsightly ridge is inside, and then you get your bone folder and you burnish that fold, make it nice and crisp, and pop that to one side as you don't want paint splodges on it. Next you need, and this is the main piece of card that we're going to be working on, but the first mat is going to be, or the main mat is going to be Tip Top Taupe, and that measures 14.4 centimetres by 10.1. I'm so sorry, 14.4 by 10.1 centimetres. So that's going to be the first mat layer. Your second mat layer is going to be on the card base there, and then your main piece of cardstock is 14 by 9.7. There you go. My brain's got to get back in gear. And then and this is shimmery white cardstock we're using, and then just a scrap of mint macaron and some spare offcuts of the shimmery white. Now, because we are doing a watercolour technique, and you're all going to scream at me, you told us we can't use basic archival, basic black on our photopolymer stamps. Well, you can, but it's going to stain your stamp, because you really can't use Stays On ink cleaner, because it does undermine the stamp. Stampin' Up doesn't recommend it. So I've just accepted that I cleaned them with Stampin' Mist once I finished, and that they're stained black. But for me it's not a problem, because it allows them to be highlighted through your acrylic block anyway. So get your Stays On. I'm just going to move these bits out of the way and give this a good inking. Now, what I find personally with photopolymer is that you have to almost season them each time you use them, because once you've cleaned them you find that you're back at square one. So just ink up and stamp off onto some scrap paper, just to make sure you're getting a really nice crisp image before you go and stamp on your card, and you find it all comes out half and half, nicely imaged. And with the archival ink you do have to press a little bit harder, but you must keep the stamp set parallel to the ink pad, otherwise it will be going everywhere. Right, then just place down a nice even pressure, not too heavy, and then up. Okay, so that is your main image. Whilst that is drying, I'm going to stamp the sentiment, and I'm going to stamp this piece here. It just, because we're using this for a watercolour technique, I just want the ink to be nice and dry. So we're going to start again with Tip Top Taupe this time. So we're done with the basic black. So we're going to use that lovely birthday sentiment, it's so sweet, this one, onto that scrap of shimmery white. And we want Tip Top Taupe, which is there. And this gives a very subtle little sentiment. And again, I always check that it's coming out nicely beforehand. So you just want to pop that down. It's a lovely little sentiment, this one. And then I can't actually remember which of these ovals was the best fit, whether it was the large, yeah, it's the large one, there you go. So pop that one out, that's your sentiment done. And then we can, using, I didn't get mint macaron out, so no, Tip Top Taupe again. So using Tip Top Taupe again, we're going to do those little dots across this. Saves us a job when we're finished. It's probably going to take me a week or so to get right back into the swing of things again. My poor head has been all over the place. I bet I'm not the only one. I bet loads of you out there are going to be going, oh God, yeah, we've all had it as well. I'm going to do 2 little rows. And the lovely thing with photopolymer is they're clear. So it's really easy to use because you can see what you're doing. And then all I've done, this is just 1.5 centimetres wide. And that allows you to pop this through the top of the punch, guide it between the cutting blades, so there you can see it comes out the other side, and then you can just trim that to size, rotate it round, trim the other end, and there you've got your little banner. So those are the other little elements of this card. Get these bits away. Right, so that there, and now we can get to watercolouring. And the first colour I'm going to start with is going to be Watermelon Wonder. Now, when you're going to watercolour, really give that ink pad a really good squeeze. You won't break it. And then you've got ink that gets transferred into the well there. I'm using an aqua painter for the painting section. And what you will find is, yes, you could do this onto watercolour paper, but the shimmery, because it's a little bit thicker, it works really well so long as you don't make this paper absolutely soggy. But it will work really, really well with watercolour techniques such as we're doing here today. So the first thing that I actually do is I just drop a couple of drops of water into the well like that. And that allows me to add extra water if the colour is too intense. And then the other thing I like to do is I don't actually squeeze any water out, but I just go over the image very, very lightly, because I like watercolour to be diffuse. I like it to go outside the actual lines. I'm not fussed if the colour leaches through at all, because I actually think that looks really nice and very watercoloury. So, and then all I do is I pick up some ink from the well and I start from the centre. Because we've already added water, albeit a little bit, the ink will already start to spread like that. So it's a really, really quick technique, and it's a super little card that actually looks like you've worked for ages on it. A little bit of red just to peek through on the bases of those buds like that, and here just to give a hint of the colour. And you just wipe off onto some tissue, or I just wipe off lightly onto my grid paper. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of colour, and I am just going to add a bit of water to this one. And I want this to be a bit more diffuse in colour. So this could either be an opening flower, or what I'm trying to do here, it's a flower that's already bloomed and the colour starts to leach out, doesn't it? It's not so intense anymore. To start at the centre, and you just let the ink come through. And that is it for the red, or yeah, I guess it is a red, Watermelon Wonder. And then the stems is going to be Cucumber Crush. You will definitely want a drop of water in here, or two, because this colour, if I show you here, this is really intense, look. And you don't really want that intensity when we've already got something a bit more subdued here. So again, start from the base. And it is worth taking your time with this. And if it gets too dark, you just apply a little bit more water to it, and you'll find that the colour bleaches. And you just repeat that with all of the stems. You can make them as dark as you like. Now naturally the colour would be more intense at the base of the stem, and it will be more intense up underneath the petals, because that is where the plant is more shaded. You just want a little bit more in the centres. Same with this one. And then that final one. And a little bit on these little buds where they're just starting to open. Make sure I've got them all, and I'm going to add a little green in the centre here, and that is the watercolouring done. And I forgot to get out the tiniest of the stamps in here, which is this tiny little corner, but it set it off really well. So it's from the same stamp set. It's just like a grungy wood corner on a frame. See what I mean when I stamp. And it works whichever way round you go, so it doesn't matter. So just one of those in each of the corners. And it helps to tie all of the colours together then. There you go. And the final bit is to add a bit of spotty grunge. And we're using second and third generation stamping and a stamping off technique. So stamping off means you ink up your stamp, you stamp it off, so you're getting rid of the most of the intense coloration. And then you're just going to use 3 times of stamping, ink up, ink off again, start from the opposite side. You just want nice random, and it just gives you a bit of a textured background there. Right, so now we're up to just putting this together, and this is still a little bit wet. If you've got grid paper like me, you can turn it over, just give it a dry, and there you go. We're ready to start assembling. Obviously, if you was doing it, I would say wait for that to dry completely, but I'm not going to put you through that. So we'll just get on and get assembling. So now, where did I put there my card? Okie doke. So we're going to start off by matting this panel onto here. And I'm going to use Fast Fuse because I love it. It's most definitely my #1 adhesive when it comes to making cards or sealing boxes. It's just, it sticks forever, and it's archival, which I love even more. And that goes down on there. And then some Stampin' dimensionals just to mat this onto your card front, just so it pops it up a little bit. I'm using all of the leftover edge bits, so I just cut them down. I can't bear waste, so I like to use everything if I can. There you go. Take off those bits. And the great thing with Stampin' Dimensionals is you really do not need very many of them. I bet I've done that wrong, haven't I? I have, but never mind, we're all right, we've got there. I didn't put the dimensionals in the wrong place. Okay, so that's on there. Next, you're going to go with a piece here, but first you're going to cut off a little piece of tea lace doily. You'll see here I've already cut a piece off where I did the other one. And this is just going to sit underneath here. Now this one you can't use fast fuse with because if you do it straight on here it just rips. So Tombow tends to be the best thing. Just a few dots of Tombow here and there. You don't need very much. Just a few tiny little dots just along the top edge where it's going to be tucked up underneath. A little angle. And then Stampin' Dimensionals on here again. That will go over the top of your doily. And then finally some dimensionals on the back of this. And I'll use a couple of the thicker bits. I managed to get Tombow all over my fingers now. One, two, okay. I just managed to get a little corner still showing. Snipped it off. Right. And then this one I'm just going to put a bit of an angle, half on, half off. And there you go. There is today's watercolour card. How easy was that? Which I really needed to ease me back into everything today. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's card. I hope you're also really pleased to see me back. I'm pleased to be back. I've really missed being out here and talking to myself, talking to you guys. I really enjoy it, so I will get this uploaded this evening, and you'll be able to look forward to more projects. I'm going to do a few days of just gorgeous grunge, awesomely artistic, just to cover me through, and then I'll have been to Telford, and we'll have some new inspiration coming from all the swaps. So that's what's coming up. Anyway, enough of me blubbing along. That's it for today. Don't forget that we are doing the hashtag. I'm bringing birthdays back. I think it's that way around. I'm bringing birthdays back, or something like that. Anyway, it's on the back of all of my cards. Because birthdays is the most common reason that we make cards and give cards, and it's a great fun Stampin' Up hashtag project that's going on at the moment. So you can now purchase, it's open to purchase by everybody, so you can buy the stamp and join in with the project yourself by stamping on the back of all the cards that you make too. If you would like to follow me on YouTube, that's lovely. I'm also on Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, LinkedIn. All of the details of my social media accounts are in the show more section under today's video. There will be a blog that goes alongside today's video, and you will also, what was I going to say? Oh my goodness, brain's gone blank now. You can join my community Pinterest board. Just start following the board. I check you out to make sure you are interested in paper crafts, and then I send you an invitation. It's down to you if you want to start pinning away. It doesn't have to be Stampin' Up product. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a demonstrator, you don't have to be a customer. I really don't mind. It's just a nice social place for enthusiasts of papercraft to come together and build this huge collection of ideas that we can all draw from. And that's it really. So I'll speak to you again tomorrow, and that's it for now. Ta-ta.